So you know how the web bot, which lately has been pretty accurate, incredible, if you ask me, incredibly accurate. But it also mentioned to watch these Italian banks in the web bot reports 2 or 3 times, different reports. Watch the Italian banking system. They're going to be in deep trouble. Watch the banks. And there hadn't been too much talk about them up until that time. So again, for the web bot to just come out and, Cliff High's interpretation of it, of course, and then says, watch this, watch this, watch this. Italian banks, big trouble, Italian banks. And prior to that, you hadn't heard too much really about the Italian banks. It's Deutsche Bank and it's, Greece, in the news somewhat. Not necessarily their banking system, but other things that you might say, oh, yeah, we're used to hearing that. We've heard it a little bit. Not the Italian banks. Even Deutsche Bank's been on the news recently and prior to this reporting from the webbot about the Italian banks. So if they came out and said, watch Deutsche Bank again, okay, it already said that. Not to mention we've already seen it all over the place now. Nothing to see here. But the Italian banks was something kind of new. So this is interesting. From Zero Hedge, Milan prosecutors seek to shelve probe, get rid of it, against Monte Paschi. It could undermine investor sentiment. Let's not, remember the whole too big to fail, Eric Holder? We decided not to prosecute because the effect on the economy would be devastating should we prosecute the bad guys, the bankers. So we opted not to save the economy. But you didn't save it anyways, and it crashed 2009. 24 million people on food stamps. Now there's 48 million approximately. Right. But let's take a look at how they handle things over in Italy. Right? We're talking about America. Let's see how they handle things in Italy. 2 weeks ago, we were surprised to read that Italian prosecutors had launched a probe into potential accounting fraud and market manipulation by the executives of Italy's third largest and world's oldest bank, and that is Monte Paschi, just weeks after its most recent bailout was announced. It didn't last long. Moments ago, Reuters reported that less than 2 weeks after news of the probe leaked, Milan prosecutors have filed a request to shelve a probe for alleged market manipulation and false accounting. False accounting. Are you talking about cooked books like Jason Ford always tells you about? Against the chief executive of Monte dei Paschi di Siena and the bank's former chairman, 3 judicial sources said. According to Reuters, news of the probe, which emerged last month, risked undermining investor sentiment in the bank's management as it seeks to raise up to 5 billion, currently seeks to raise up to 5 billion euros in an emergency capital increase by the end of the year. Remember, Webbot, watch those banks. They're insolvent. They're insolvent. Watch them. Big banking problem coming to you in Italy. So what they're saying is we may have prosecuted under normal conditions, but this bank's currently seeking $5 billion in, again, emergency capital. It needs to be raised. We got 3 freaking months to get this done. And if we go ahead with this and we charge them and accounting fraud, and they're never going to be able to get the capital they need, which means they're going to implode. That's essentially what they're saying. A judge will now be called to rule on the request, which was submitted by prosecutors on Thursday. So if you have a true honorable judge, then he's going to say, sorry, request denied. The law is the law. You got to follow it. No, we're not throwing this out. But old Magic 8 Ball, is the judge going to throw it out? Reply hazy. Try again. All right, okay. Magic 8 Ball, is the judge going to throw out this case against the banksters? My sources say no. What the? Magic 8 Ball, are you smoking something today? Magic 8 Ball says no, they're going to let the case go through? Wow, great. Wouldn't that be amazing? As reported on August 18th, a source had told My, my sources say no. Magic 8 Ball, as reported on August 18th, a source had told Reuters. Magic 8 Ball, is that the same source? Sources said, no, same thing, right? Sources told Reuters last month that Monte de Paschi CEO Fabrizio Viola, or is that Voila? Viola or Voila? And former chairman Alessandro Profumo were being investigated in relation to the way the bank booked, here it goes, here's that name, that word, 2 derivatives trades in its accounts between 2011 and 2014. One of the sources said on Thursday, the request to shelve the probe was warranted, given that there was ample reference to the nature of those trades in a separate section of the bank's financial accounts, and regulators had been informed. The probe started last year in Siena, and it was transferred to Milan, which has jurisdiction over market manipulation crimes, in July. So in other words, Italy realized it couldn't have the alleged truth about cooking books by the bank's top executives coming out just as the bank was scrambling to execute its $5 billion bailout or capital raising. And as a result, any potential wrongdoing by the bank's executive or executives will remain undisclosed. He says justice wins again. Nope, that's what Giro Salente says, just us. Justice doesn't win on those cases. It only wins when it's you and I, the nobodies. Oh, you ran over my sprinkler in your damn car, and I'm suing you, and you said it was me, but it wasn't. It was you. The judge sided with me, and I won. Justice prevailed. The American system worked. Okay. Was your neighbor one of the club members? No, he wasn't. That's why justice worked. Had it been one of these bankers or any, he ran over your sprinkler, punched you in the face, and you have it on video, thrown out, you're going to be charged with assault against him. But I got on video. Yeah, that's hearsay. No, it's not hearsay. It's video evidence. The judge wouldn't even let me bring it in. That's how this would have worked if that was the scenario. Just us, not justice. So, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here now that all of the children have grown up? I want to see. Go ahead. I just threw one at you. Did you catch that? Who was that from? What was that from? Where do we go from here? Now that all of the children are grown up. Where do we go from here now that all the bankers have been bailed out and we're left with the bag? Stinking, rotting doo-doo in the bag. So the picture the Webbot's painting, should it get it right, and it doesn't get everything right, is that there's going to be a problem, perhaps, for this bank. They're not going to be able to raise the $5 billion in capital. Maybe the charges remain. Judge says, nope, got to go ahead. Okay, we got to prosecute, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which leads to them definitely not getting the $5 billion. And then what happens? Well, if they were cooking the books, I wonder if any other banks were cooking the books. And I've already told you the answer to that numerous times. Not only do they cook the books, or I was going to say some of the banks cook the books, but it'd be in your best interest to bet that all of these big banks cook the books. It doesn't ever amaze you, like when you hear, this bank's got 45 trillion in derivatives, and this one's got 55 trillion, and Deutsche Bank's got 60 trillion, whatever. How is it even possible that you can have a number larger than the assets in your entire bank, as well as the cash value, the accounts, anything you have, whether it be your own bank's account, corporate account, banking account, or your clients, your customers' account, and you added them all together, by the way. They don't equal 50, 40, 30, whatever, 60 trillion. So how do you have a derivative that has that price tag on it somehow, but there's not even that much money? That much money has never been created. It does not exist at all. So how can you have Citigroup's derivatives, PNC Bank, they got some derivatives, not a big one like the rest of them, but they have them, Deutsche Bank, Chase, again, the club. How do you have these enormous amounts of derivatives when the money doesn't even exist? It doesn't even make sense. I can't just go look at my bank account online and say, oh, well, I've got $5,000 in there and, leveraged 100 times like these derivatives, then 5,000 times 100. Boy, I got some serious money in there. I couldn't do that. I couldn't just say, well, since I have 5 in cooking book terms, derivatives, I've got, I'm about to say 1,000 times that, 100 times that value. I mean, what is it? This is ridiculous. Anyways, that's it for the video. Take care.